in general, my sense of advocating for GIST treatments and advocating for GIST patients is actually really growing in a very organic way. It was not something I ever deliberately planned to do, or and I would imagine that many and most GIST advocates around the world are probably in a similar boat, that it's through situation, circumstance that you sort of grow, that the role, I think, kind of grows around you, just with this desperate need. So for me, I think for those first 15 years in particular, I was just muddling my way through as a patient, feeling as though the system was, I just felt like I was falling through the cracks at every turn. I couldn't quite understand why, or what the solutions were to that, but everything just felt harder than it should have been. I felt more isolated than many of the other people I knew that had some different types of cancers. They sort of seemed to fit into these pathways to treatment access and support access, and so I think for me, for my journey was advocacy journey was sort of really just grew out of working out what I was finding difficult, and then how I could try and improve the experience that others were having. And it really all came to a head in 2015, when I was then at the end of the line of my funded treatments. So I had Gleevec, and I had I was then, disease had progressed on Sutent. I was then in surgery, and I came out of surgery, and a few weeks later we knew that I had no funded options ahead of me. Yet I knew that in the States and through different clinical trials, that there were so many other options. So that really just put me in a fairly vulnerable and desperate state from a personal perspective. How am I going to be able to fund $100,000 a year to treat my GIST? So I actually, through support of my family and friends, we did our own personal crowdfunding to try and fund that treatment, to then get access to the drugs, which was successful for me, but it just felt completely unfair. I knew there were multiple other patients in Australia at the exact same time that weren't eligible for compassionate access, nor did they have a network where they could actually build their own fundraise. So at that point, they were at the end of the line. Yet, so I knew that was completely unfair and unjust, and that's where I just sort of stepped in to formalize what I was going to do to try and increase the number of treatments that and access for patients. So I guess at that point, I then thought, well, I'd reach out to other patients and help try and develop connections with others, work out what they're experiencing, what the challenges they have, and see if perhaps collectively we might be able to bring about some sort of change. And so I guess my sense of connections was then building understanding of what the challenges were, and that also coincided with me reaching out to a range of organisations within Australia as well, to find out what supports they could offer me and other patients with GIST around access to treatments and also support during those times. I guess from that point, I guess that really built up to last year, where we sort of gathered together to try and get Kinlock funded in Australia.